content. And Tony Dungy got into a little bit of a thing about the whole Taylor Swift and Chiefs and Kelsey. But you think about it, remember John Madden and the turducken. That lives to this day. That was a wonderful, healthy, inclusive distraction. Inclusive. That was an inclusive thing.
But a turducken is not
unless
really
you're the turkey, right?
It doesn't taste very good.
But I mean,
sorry.
the women of the house, the men of the house, everyone was talking about the turducken.
And he was. It was. I think that's.
But he knew
his
football.
I think that's a little different. To what we're referring to, and Dungy specifically, his complaint is the coverage of Taylor Swift. He feels like it's nonstop. And some of the analysts have said the same thing. Of course, Chiefs fans see it differently.
All the dads, Brads, and Chads.
But one of them called them married. Who was it?
Tony Romo.
Was it Tony Romo?
He keeps saying his wife.
His wife.
Said, and multiple times. And I don't know if he just keeps forgetting. By the way, Tony Romo married a girl from right here in Columbia. He married a television news anchor at Channel 8.
Oh, really?
A lot of people don't know that. She went to college, but here. But I think it'll be interesting. Should be a great game. And KWS, KCMQ. It's not going to be an easy game.
It won't be. No. But we'll have
it's on CBS TV.
Yes, 5:30. 5:30 on Sunday night. Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park.
Oh, it's on Sunday. That's
Sunday night. Yes, sir.
And this will actually be the last game of the season that we will be able to air on KWOS and KCMQ. The Chiefs get real picky with their radio coverage, their radio affiliates, once you get super late into the playoffs. So
it's an NFL thing. Once you hit this stage of the playoffs, it becomes a whole nother package.
Well, give me Pete Rozell's number. I'm calling him right away. He's the head down there, isn't he?
Pete Rozelle. You're talking about the former NFL commissioner.
I know. I'm kidding you.
Hannah and John are absolutely right. And what happens is the radio has to be on at that point. Westwood 1. And they take away. I personally, I don't like it. I don't like it because these affiliates have carried it the whole season, and I think it's just the flagship in Kansas City, the Wolf, that is allowed to carry it, and and then whoever the flagship is for the other team. But that's it's something that's been done, and fans complain about it because they want to hear Mitch Holtis and they want to hear the crew they're used to hearing from. No offense to the guys at Westwood 1, they do a great job, but it's not the same. But it is an NFL rule. And MLB does that too with the Cardinals late in the season. I just have never understood that.
Well, and it's a bummer, when the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl, that we're not able to carry it.
Exactly.
It is what it is.
John, what happened to loyalty? Whether it's Trump, whether it's in the NFL, what happened to loyalty? You're loyal all the time to a person or to an institution, and then they just throw you under the bus. They just
kind of like Tony Romo dumping Carrie Underwood back in the day. So
he must have had some traumatic brain injury to dump Carrie Underwood.
No kidding.
Well, and like I said, he married and she was a news anchor at one time, very well known, and her brother's kind of a famous actor. Yes, and I can't think of his name. He was on a television show with famous. I don't know Hollywood like you guys do, but he was big name at the time. But the anchor at Channel 8 was her last name was Crawford. Her last name was Crawford, and she did a fantastic job. I don't think she's doing TV news anymore, but should be a great game. Randy, quickly, we are under a wind chill advisory just for our listening area. It's going to feel today like 10 if we're lucky. Actually, that's going to be the temperature, 10 degrees if we're lucky. Wind chill will make it feel like minus 15, and the National Weather Service is actually urging everyone to get blankets in their car today and tomorrow just in case you have trouble.
All right, so I was thankful that you were accurate, that it was just a dusting. It wasn't a surprise. Yes. And I'm even more thankful that we didn't have a lot of the melt, warm, snow, Arctic blast, freeze, and an ice. Everything's black ice.
Yes.
On the driveways, on the sidewalks, and everything. I mean, from what I've seen, the pavement's pretty good in most places.
In most places, yes. There are exceptions, though. Yeah. There are exceptions. And
that's where you get hurt, when you don't really anticipate it. You take it for granted.
I live in an apartment complex in Columbia, and unfortunately, I've taken a tumble down the stairs. God protected me. I could have hit my head, and then I took a nasty fall a couple of years ago. Wow. Hit the same black ice yesterday, and it's in an area that it doesn't get a lot of sunlight. You can't see it, and you just have to kind of walk. Is our business manager Becky James said, kind of walk like a penguin.
Yes, she's right.
That's the way they teach you, but just be very careful because there can be some surprise areas. 95% of it's fine, but yes, those black ice areas are out there.
Now, because
there's some slick streets in places too.
That's right.
Because we like to call balls and strikes, right? We like to call balls and strikes on the program. I find it interesting that despite the plunging temperatures across the country, extended, we have not heard of rolling brownouts, electricity alerts like we did a few years ago in Texas and other places. We have to ponder this. What does that mean?
I actually was listening to the radio station on my way in this morning. This morning with Gordon Deal, they were talking about this specifically in Texas, which of course it was 2 or 3 years ago that they went a few days without power, most of them, because the grid just couldn't support it.
Windmills froze.
Yeah,
the windmills
and
froze.
They were the expert that Gordon Deal had on was saying that Texas is, has emerged as a leader in the renewable energy, scene, and especially since the blackouts happened a couple years ago, they now have the capability to, when it's cloudy, they can easily use the fossil fuels to power their grid, and then when the sun comes out later in the day, a lot of it's powered by solar or wind. Yeah. So they've really adapted over the last couple of years.
And remember, they took a lot in Texas that it wasn't more of a governmentally organized power grid, and that's what led to the failure. But it's that very innovative, market-driven grid that seems to have overcome and triumphed. I mean,
they learned a lot of lessons, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, the market is wise, resilient, and always more efficient than the government.
And that's historically we know that. I mean that's the case. But Hannah's absolutely right. It was voluntary, and they are using renewables, which is interesting because that is. You would make the argument between that and Alaska, a big petroleum state. I've been down there; it's a lot of oil wells. But yes, I think to your point, Randy, you have to give a lot of credit to in Jefferson City, Three Rivers Electric Cooperative, and to Ameren. Ameren serves a lot of our listening area as well. But in Columbia, it'd be Columbia Power and Light, in the cooperatives as well, Boone Electric and others, because they have done a great job.
They really have.
And it's worth mentioning, Columbia Utilities have had linemen and linewomen on duty just in case, in most of these days, just in case we've had downlines, but it really hasn't happened. So we're fortunate. And
wait till you get your bill after these couple of cold spells.
Well, and in that regard, there was a story that we may have talked about it, but I was in communication with Cindy O'Loughlin, who has a lot of concern about energy regulations and so forth. Did you hear that Ameren is raising their renewable energy surcharge from 35 cents a month to $2.04 a month?
I have not heard that.
For a residential customer using 1,000 kilowatt hours of electricity a month.
But again, I have not heard that. And they do that.
ABC 17, our news partner.
Yeah. Keep in mind, Randy, the bulk of people in Columbia are not on Ameren. Ameren serves a lot of people in Moberly, and there's a lot of people in Jefferson City as well.
Hannah is. She's raised her hand. Yeah. That's $25 a month. That's almost half the price of a new Stanley Cup.
You're saying $25
I mean, a year.
Okay,
a year. $25 a year. How often are you going to replace your Stanley Cup?
Oh, no. Hopefully never. It's like got a warranty or something.
Yeah. Well, we got a release from yesterday from Ameren. There's another charge they have on people's bills that's dropping by 4 cents a month, but they did not send us the one about the raise.
Yeah.
Well, in our house, we have...
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
In our house, we have the furnace, the stove, and the dryer are all gas. And
what about your curling iron, your blow dryer? Don't forget those.
That's electricity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a separate department.
Oh, the other things are all propane?
I am an Ameren customer for natural gas.
Oh, for natural. Okay. Oh, for natural.
Washer and dryer? What is that?
Well, the dryer it's an old school gas powered dryer.
Wow.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
But our gas bill in the winter gets almost to $200 sometimes a month.
Yeah. Hey, let's take Kirk real quick. What's up on your mind today on this Feel Good Friday, Kirk?
Hey, well, I've got a bunch of stuff to be thankful for, and I wanted to bring into the conversation about one of the things that contributed to that disaster they had down in Texas was that when they were building the grid, they were trying to do it as economically as possible, and they found that they could actually earn money by utilizing all the subsidies that the federal government was providing for building these renewable, unreliable sources of electricity. So that's where they went down that road.
Yeah.
And then they realized
going to do a Doctor's In segment at 7:10. You don't want to miss that. Representative Dave Griffith will be with us just after the bottom of the hour news because he's sponsored us a measure on veteran suicide, and so we want to talk about that. That feels good. Why? Because we've got to prevent that. It's an epidemic, and I know, John, you're excited about that, and so am I, about getting that word out. And Rick Rowden's going to join us a little bit later at 7:35. There's a great event coming up if you want to support first responders as well. Now, in the Daily DC Rundown, the Senate yesterday and shortly after that, the House passed a kick it down the can bill. Kick the can down the road bill. That's what I call it. Or kick the can or kick it down the can or whatever.
Sounds good to me.
Hannah, kick my can down the road. Because it delays it to the end of March. They funded most of the essential services that were otherwise going to be cut if they didn't do something. And they're still negotiating on whether to hold the border security hostage to Ukraine and Israeli funding, and who knows where it's all going to go. Schumer says he thought he had a 50-50 chance. Mike Johnson said nothing starts until the border, and he's got Donald Trump's backing.
Now, when was the budget originally supposed to be finalized by?
The budget is supposed to be, the fiscal year starts in October of every year.
I was going to say, I am notorious for procrastinating. And this is impressive even by my standards.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There, it's got the Hannah seal of procrastinational approval. John, when was the last time they passed a budget before it was in effect?
Wow, you got me on that one.
It had to be in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s.
All kidding aside, not in recent memory.
No, I think that was during the golden days of the Clinton revolution when he was dragged kicking and screaming to tax reform and welfare reform by Newt Gingrich and the House Republicans. So that was that. In Davos, there's a lot of courageous testimony going on from leaders across the world, from Javier Milei from Argentina to Kevin Roberts at Heritage. I have sound on that, and we're going to talk about that.
Courageous?
At 6:50.
They're courageous?
Courageous. Because, well, they're in the belly of the liberal progressive beast, and they're going after them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're calling them out.
We saw some of the elites, and I was very non-impressed.
Stomach turning.
I did a Google search. Congress has only completed the budget before the fiscal year 4 times in the last 40 years.
There you go. It's
1996 was the last time.
And Jamal Bowman, I pulled the fire alarm. Oh, welcome back. If you're new to the show, we're Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler. There's producer Hannah, co-host Helene today.
Good morning.
Brian Hauswirth coming into the studio.
Good
and
morning.
John Marsh. How you doing, Big John?
Doing good.
Anyway, I was there, and there was this old gentleman who had a cap on with Vietnam service, and he dropped his cane. And he was a feeble guy, and I could tell he was struggling, and I picked the cane up, and he said, thank you. I said, no, thank you. I said, I'm brought to tears when I talk to veterans, no matter where they served and at what age they are, because I never did, and it's very humbling. And I picked up the cane. I said, well, I guess we could call this Raisin Cane, huh? And he sort of laughed, and we had a good chuckle. But there's nothing better than people who have served our country when it comes to patriotism and people who just know what right is and what wrong is. One of those people is Representative Griffith, who we're talking to now. Griffith, how you doing, Representative Griffith? Good to talk to you again.
Talk to you too, Randy.
And I've been doing a little research on you. We want to talk about your, because of your leadership, of course, in the House, of course, you're in the district there in the Cole County area, about Veterans Affairs. But you served as a Green Beret. And I have a son-in-law who's in Robin Sage training, which may make some sense to you. But we don't hear the details, but the harrowing tales of the things that you go through to become a Special Forces service member in this country are amazing. So thank you for your service and for what you went through, because I have a little flavor of what it is.
Well, it was truly an honor to serve, and I think God put me in a good place many times in my life, and that was one of those times that I was able to do some things that a lot of people don't get to do. Nor
could a lot of people ever succeed at doing.
Right. Let's put in perspective there.
This is not for those who are faint of heart.
No.
John, I want you to take the lead here because you brought up the legislation that Representative Griffith is talking about. So let's set the table.
Yeah, Griff talked to his House Veterans Committee this week, unanimously passed the bill to direct the Veterans Commission to, I guess, put veteran suicide a whole lot higher on their priority list, right?
It really does. House Bill 1495 is the veteran suicide bill that I've carried for the last 3 years, and we know what's happened the 2 years previous. And so this year I'm really hoping to get across the finish line. But this year it went through my committee. We had a hearing 2 weeks ago, and then this past Tuesday, it passed out of my committee by consent. And actually, and during that same hearing, we had a lady from the Joplin area. Her name was Debbie Fitzgerald. She runs the Ozark Crisis Center down there. She came and testified. Normally I give those that testify in my committee about 15 minutes. She testified for an hour. And I'm telling you, she gave us some information for 4 years. I've been trying to get some information that can lead us to knowing and recognizing when somebody has suicide ideation, when they're contemplating suicide. And I worked for the Red Cross for 6 years, and we had a card that showed people, kind of pointed people towards somebody that's going to have a heart attack or have a stroke. So I've been asking for 4 years for a card that would be similar to that, would have dealt with suicide. Debbie brought us one. And it's the first time I've seen that. I told her at the end of the hearing I wanted 55,000 of those, and then she kind of looked at me kind of funny, and I said, well, okay, I'll take 5,000 of them. So next week I'm going to be receiving those cards. But one thing that she talked about that I think that I'd like to share with your audience today is something called question, persuade, and refer. The question, persuade, and refer is will you have a friend of yours, a family member, or a friend that really starts talking and acting in a way that they normally have not. When they say things like, I'm not going to be here next week, I won't be there next month, those are trigger words and phrases that we need to take serious. When you have a friend that says, I could just kill myself, they may be kidding as a one-off, but there may be something behind that really needs to be explored. So we've had a lot of really good testimony, but I could tell you that Debbie's testimony really touched my heart and really gave me some hope for stemming this crisis that we've got with suicide. And to your point, John, I think that the Veterans Commission's got three priorities. The first priority is the Veterans Home. The second priority is the cemeteries that we've got. The third priority is the veteran service officers. By passing this bill, this will make veteran suicide one of their priorities. And that's why it's important to get this bill across the finish line.
Chairman Griffith, we appreciate you joining us live, and thank you for your service. By the way, you're a Green Beret, and one of the best songs I've ever heard is a guy named Barry Sadler that sang the Green. I get choked up even thinking about it, the Green Berets. And I mean, you want to talk about a phenomenal song. There's nothing better than that. We appreciate your service. Your bill, I'm just going to read it. It's one sentence, plain and simple, Mr. Chairman. Your bill tasks the Missouri Veterans Commission with expanding its efforts to prevent veteran suicide. Nothing more than that. That sums it up right there. As you know, though, it's one thing to propose it. It's another thing to have the governor go to the podium during a State of the State address next week and make his recommendations. Well, with all the television cameras there, all the radio reporters, all the newspaper reporters as well, the governor will be there. He'll have an audience with 197 state lawmakers. Two-part question. A, are you hopeful that the governor will include this in his State of the State address? And B, have you talked to him about this?
To answer your first question, yes, I definitely hope that he will include that. He's a veteran himself, so he gets it. He knows what it's all about. And yes, I have talked with him. I've talked with him, and I've talked with his staff. Governor Parson, for me, is a really good friend. I don't ever call him Mike. I always call him Governor, but we're on that level, I think. And his wife Teresa is one of the sweetest ladies that I've ever known. And I can tell you that it is my hope that from the podium he will talk about that. It is a crisis. The suicide rate that we have in the state of Missouri for the general population is 23.2%. For veterans, it's 44.5%.
It's terrible.
So it's double. And Missouri ranks right now. For a long time, Brian, I think I lied because I said Missouri was number one in the country. We're not number one, but we rank right up there. I think the last words I heard were we were fourth or sixth in the country for population, and really in the area we've got with Missouri, Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, these four states that are right here, we have a lot of veterans that retire here. We have a lot of service members that stay when they get out of the service, they stay in these areas, and we like that. But that also can drive those numbers up. So I think that it's something that we've got to get a handle on. I think just this past year, I've lost two of my very close friends to suicide. When that happens to you personally, it touches your heart in a way that it never changes. There's always questions that you've got as to what could I have done, what could I have said that could have made a difference.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Griffith, we have my daughter actually had a friend that committed suicide, and what you say is absolutely true, that there are trigger words and phrases, and if we have some clue that's so important to hone in on, and they get people around them that they'll have that experience, that know when to clue into them. So, but there's a lot of rancor in the Senate, and your thoughts about getting this issue across the finish line.
Well, there is, and I can tell you Senator Eigel he's a veteran himself. He's the chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee. He and I have spoken a number of times. I know it's a priority for him. He's already put together a veterans omnibus bill that he's going to try and put through. I'm in hopes that that's part of it. We've visited about that. But it's for us in the House. It's very frustrating for us to do the work that we do, and to send really good bills over to the Senate. And this one is one that is non-controversial. It has to be to go consent. But for them to not take that up and pass it the same day they get it is beyond me. So I've gone into this session with a positive attitude and thinking that we are going to get some things done. If we go in there and think, well, nothing's going to happen, and I have a lot of my colleagues that are saying that this is going to be a throw-off session because it's an election year, if we do that, I'm sure nothing will happen.
Representative Dave Griffith joins us on Wake Up Mid-Missouri this morning, and lots of exciting things going on in that committee, Representative. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Dave, I know that in past sessions when we've heard the testimony from veterans up there, one angle that came out that wasn't so much the overt suicide, but the number of veterans who have died because of substance abuse issues that continues for so many folks who've returned home.
That's right. And a number of things that I think attribute to that, because a number of the injuries that they have, TBI, traumatic brain injury, the PTSD that we've got, and trying to find ways that we can treat that. I think medication is a good way. And Randy, you're being a doctor, you would know more about this than I do. But I think that there's some counseling that can be done. I think there are some ways that we can look at addressing some of these issues without medicating our veterans to the point where, when their medications run out and they become addicted to those, and then they look at alternative methods trying to treat it, then that's when we have suicide that can happen, at least down to a very, very hard path.
You know, Dave, I think you probably know, you and I are of enough seniority on years on the planet that you know that whether it's a washing machine that's making a noise or a car that's making some rattling noise, or someone who's having some early mental health problems, early addressing of a problem, often an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. You sit on the mental health, committee, and health and mental health committee as well, and I'm concerned that there is so much obstruction and so many hoops for counselors at lower levels of credentialing to get through, that I think could provide some of that early counseling, early intervention that may preempt some of the more and increasingly hard to find intensive therapy, whether it is veterans or non-veterans that need mental health care. Because a lot of these things then turn into either violent crimes or drug-related property crimes. And when I see the regulatory hassle that people early in their career that want to be counselors, want to be licensed social workers, they've got to do 30,000 hours and go and jump through 25 million hoops to get the legitimacy to counsel someone. Am I right or wrong there, that we've got too much noise for people that could be offering helpful counseling at an earlier stage?
I think you're spot on there. But I think also, Randy, one of the other things that is a concern is that a lot of these veterans that are in the National Guard, reserves, or in the military, they hesitate in going to try and get mental health because of if they do, they're going to be labeled.
Yes.
If they're labeled, then their chance for getting promotions or even staying in the military.
Yeah, you're right.
It starts to affect that.
Well, conversations like this need to bring awareness to the fact that there's probably no better worker than a veteran. There's no one that's going to share the same values that an owner of a small business or a large business, for that matter. And to stigmatize this, we should be over that. Just like we're over racism in this country, we should be over that stigmatization as well.
Well, and that's one thing, a conversation that I've been trying to have with the military, and I've had with General Compton a number of times in the National Guard, is what can we do to try and get these folks the help they need, but not penalize them for that.
Right.
We had one case 2 years ago. I had an interim committee on veteran suicide and mental health, and we had a lady and a woman and her daughter that came up from Springfield, and her husband was a lieutenant colonel in the National Guard. He was on the Springfield Police Department, and he committed suicide. They knew he had a problem, and they talked about it. But he said, if I go to my commanding officer, if I go to my commander on the police force, this may affect my job. They may let me go. And now, retrospect, after he committed suicide, they say, I really don't care. We wish we would have done that because we missed him every single day.
Yeah, there you go. I think people who admit and own their, we live in a gotcha culture, and it permeates the media, but sadly it permeates private society as well. And, I've always celebrated in any sphere I've worked out, anyone that wants to own some little wart that they have or some little flaw in their character. My God, we all live in glass houses. Their stock price goes up in my book, and I hope that we can start to turn the tide there. Representative Dave Griffith, we're out of time. I'm getting the stink eye from producer Hannah. You know what that means. So I got to run. Look forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much for sponsoring all of the great veterans legislation, including the suicide bill. The New World Order came.
Oh.
And John, remember when that was anathema? Now they're talking about New World Order 2. And
what now?
Anathema.
Anathema.
That's the word for the day.
Okay, anathema.
John knows this word.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's it mean, John?
Kind of a quandary or sort of a...
That really narrows it
It's something to be repelled.
Okay.
Icky, gross.
It doesn't
yucky.
feel good.
Yucky.
But you've got people there. You've got some of the world's richest and most powerful people that gather for the last 52 years.
That's their problem. They're rich. They're way outside. They don't know what the common man is about.
They're clueless.
They are they're out of touch.
Don't get my wife started about...
I get so angry when I look at those people. They're just so...
She's on a roll.
They're so elite. They think they're so above us. I'm sorry.
Well, they're fly
clueless.
there. Apparently,
so what?
Jesse Waters was talking last night about escorts. They have their escorts. I'm not talking about their significant others, but $700
high-paying escorts. Yes.
Yeah. So, and we've heard about John Kerry and Al Gore flying there in their private jets and burning more carbon than Hannah, John, Randy, and Helene put together would spew in a year, right?
Except for the Big A truck.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. The Big A truck I got. Yeah. At any rate, so it amounts to you're just yearning. It's a feel-good Friday. And when I heard Javier Milei, who is the new boss down in Argentina, the guy that during his campaign had chainsaws, because he was going to cut government.
Right.
Well, this is a translator as he took it to the belly of the beast at the World Economic Forum. Here he is.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Today, I'm here to tell you that the Western world is in danger. And it is endangered because those who are supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism.
Okay, there he is. Mm-hmm. Isn't that courageous? There you are at the belly of the
I mean,
I got spanked last week by the team because I didn't have real red on, and so.
Well, the last 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right?
I tried. It's
my
reddish.
My mom gave him this beautiful red sweater.
Bright red.
But he's never liked it. And I think he hid it somewhere on the move, and he'll never find it again. It's a beautiful red, gorgeous sweater. And you hated it.
One of those, I can't find it.
I can't find it.
Oh, what a wonderful gift.
Yes.
As I'm dry heaving.
But that would have been the perfect red for you. Sorry.
All right, it's time for a little Doctors In. It was a favorite segment on the afternoon show. We're going to do a little bit of that now.
All right.
Give me the news, I got a bad.
And when you told me about this story, I was like, this is not appetizing at all.
So it's called rat snacking.
Rat snacking.
And I'm sure this has been going on for a while, but now it's hit TikTok, so it's a big deal, okay?
Hannah?
Oh.
TikTok goddess of the show?
It's hit TikTok. So little things like take a pickle and a little bit of salami and put processed cheese on it, and that's a snack.
Yeah.
And what's happened is the reason that this has gotten to be a big deal is people don't have as much money. They can't go to Grubhub. They can't so they throw things together. So
kind of like girl dinner.
Girl dinner, only it's more radish, like, what a rat would put together, So I honestly, sorry. Okay. So I can say, honestly, I had a real problem when I was a younger girl, when I was a kid, and I was doing rat snacking. I don't even want to tell you what I put together. But I can say, being on that side of it, having a problem with eating, rat snacking, I mean, you could do rat snacking, but I think you have to have planned rat snacking to keep it healthy, okay? So you have to, because think about it. I'm not even talking about weight. If you were to do the rat snacking where you just take everything out of the icebox, whatever, chocolate with ice cream and throw some potato chips on top of that and chocolate sauce.
Well, there goes my plans for the night.
Well, see, the only problem with that is I've lived through that life. I've done that most of until it was a little later time in my life when I finally got my act together, that food is actually medicine. But if you want to do something like that, plan it ahead of time. So so my rat snack would be maybe take a big plate and just the plate and portion out what you're going to do. If you're going to do some crackers, and I think you have to have creamy, crunchy,
salty,
tart, and buttery. Okay, so I like smoked salmon. Okay, so I'll have a little crackers. I'll have like 5 little crackers. I'll take capers, or I'll take asparagus I've pickled.
Mm-hmm.
Put that with it, and I'll put a little bit of crunch. If you have to do pork rinds, that'll be your crunch on top of that. If you need a crunch on top of that, and a little bit of cream cheese, something that's a portion of it. Because if you would just go through, and I've done it. I've gone through the pantry and gotten myself sick eating all night. Just give yourself a portion of your rat snack, and I think you'll be okay.
So where I get in trouble is I'll eat a snack that's salty and then go, I really need something sweet to balance it out. And so I'll eat a sweet snack and then go, now I need something salty again. I get caught in this
It's
loop.
a spiral.
Yeah.
It's a spiral. Yeah, I know what you mean. I got a little bit into rat snacking when you were out helping our daughter.
For a week I was gone.
With the kids. And John, maybe you've done this when you're batching it, but I find myself, there's a few leftover olives in there, and I'll put that in with some cheese, melted on a tortilla thing, and maybe put a little dollop of this and that on there. You find yourself doing that?
Been there, done that, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
the
noticed
last crumbled up tortilla chips in the bag and find something to put on.
Tortilla chips.
There you go. Yeah.
And I found some of the evidence in our garage.
What?
You left out the barbecue chicken wings on the side of the
But they're
garage.
frozen. They're frozen.
Well, they were on the side of the freezer. So I'm guessing you had some chicken wings.
I got into some leftover D-Rose chicken wings.
Okay.
I'll have to admit that.
Busted.
It's all good.
I try to clean up leftovers.
No, see,
I try to clean up leftovers.
I'm good with any kind of food, but my big deal is, again, because I was one of those people that the portion was out of control. Give yourself a plate, and once you heat it up, you can't go back to the icebox.
Jim is texting saying, "Who is this female person?"
That's the boss.
Jim, this is my boss. Well, this is my other boss. At the studio, my boss is Hannah. And at home,
female
my
person.
boss,
I love this.
And at home, my boss is
female
Helene.
person.
And otherwise, I just listen to my bosses and do what they
ask. Now we're business owners together, yes, too.
How does that work, by the way? Like working together with your spouse?
Well, okay, so...
She's ready. She is ready to
Okay, let's talk about Davos.
Okay, so it's been an interesting dance. We've done this since May. Okay, so it's nothing really new from what it happened at home, but now since we're working together, he still doesn't hear what I'm saying. He's really good at honing in on what you got going.
Focus, Randy.
Okay.
Focus.
But then, he does that here too.
Okay, so the problem is I'm sometimes not getting that. I love the practice part of it, but the technology part of it is blowing my mind. Getting the electronic medical records, all that is a new thing for me.
Well, we're doing a lot of administrative work that you normally have people doing, but we like to handle that internally and not farm that out.
Right.
So because we got to get that accurate.
So I'll ask, okay, so how do I get to this? And then like 20 minutes later, he's not hearing what I'm saying. Then he'll say, oh, just press that button. I wouldn't have known to press that button. I'm sorry.
John,
that's the biggest problem I have with working with that man.
When we're immersed in our business, men are at their business of fixing something.
Yes.
A patient has a broken blood pressure. They've got a broken cholesterol level.
Yes.
They got a broken, whatever it is. When we're fixing something,
driven, right?
Right. It's not selective hearing purposely. We're focused on something.
Right. But the problem is I'm sitting there being very frustrated, almost putting a hole in the computer because I'm pressing every button to make the thing go the next way. It's not happening.
And I just think that men can't multitask is the problem.
Yes.
And that's why they can only focus in on one thing at a time.
Yes.
Yeah, but when men are on it, they're on it, man. If there's a mastodon and you need to kill that mastodon for food for the tribe, you can count on the man to get it done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, next time I need a mastodon
right. Yeah.
taken care of.
No kidding.
I'll call you and John.
Hannah, a little quiz here. Helene asked me, what's better, baked chips or fried chips? Do you have a thought?
Well, my brain immediately says baked, and I hope that's the answer.
Well, okay.
Okay, give us the soup.
I think it's like the gluten-free thing. People think it's healthier, but baked chips actually have a lot more carbs and a lot more fillers of sugar in there.
Yeah, a lot of sugar.
So maybe there's there's more fat in the other ones. It's fried. There's less carbs, but they're close to the same amount of calories.
So
and
it doesn't
you've got
matter.
a balance.
A single-serve
really
bag of fried chips has 149 calories, 10 grams of fat, and 1 gram of saturated fat, whereas baked chips, same amount, 131 calories, so essentially the same, 5 grams of fat, and about the same amount of saturated fat. So you're getting more carbs, and those are processed carbs. Those are like, you might as well put an IV in your arm and just give yourself some sugar.
One thing that Randy has learned about me over the last couple of weeks is that I really enjoy my energy drinks and my artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
And there he goes.
No.
Artificial sweeteners.
Come on. Don't be mean to her.
I'm not mean to her. If I didn't love Hannah, I wouldn't talk to her about this.
So you and I were doing a lot. We were doing a lot more diet soda and stuff. But
we used to, but the evidence is clear that diet soda with its artificial sweeteners, acesulfame, NutraSweet, which is sucralose, aspartame.
I have successfully stirred this pot, and I'm quite proud of myself.
At the age of 23, I was probably doing 10 to 15 packs at least of saccharin a day. I was pounding it down. Yeah. So I'm on your age. I was there. But I recently, and it's worked. I don't really want sweets as much. I've been doing that bubbly. It's just that, it's different flavors, lemon sorbet, but it's taken a while to do that. But I was doing the diet soda too.
Well, I know Stephanie really likes her LaCroix.
Okay, LaCroix's good. That's good.
She likes bubbly because it reminds her of Bublé. That's what it is.
It is
not. It reminds her of Bublé.
He is in Michael Bublé?
Michael Bublé,
Michael
yes.
Bublé. Maybe.
I can't win, John. I can't win.
You can't.
No.
We do have Kenny, who is weighing in on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page.
Yes.
And he wants to know what the doctor thinks of the Medicare Advantage plans.
Okay. You know what? I in general don't like the plans. Why? Because they're restrictive. They ration care. They will reject care. it's like climbing Mount Everest for your doctor, your doctor's office, your nurse practitioner, your PA, whoever's doing your care, to get anything done that you need. And they reject things left and right and center. And yeah, eventually you might get approval of something you need, but that's eventually. And this is another example of government getting in the way of the market. Government subsidizes.
Like your story you told about the Paxlovid for your patient,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
Well, but that applies to the supplements. That was a Medicare supplement thing. I don't think that was an Advantage deal. That was Medicare supplement. And look, we've got to change the way we do healthcare in this country. And we'll have more and ongoing discussions. I don't know why that's not at the top of everyone, well, near the top of the priority list. Because whether you talk about the economics of life in America, healthcare is your personal economics.
I think we've all bought into the fact we have to have insurance. And a lot of times we don't get the fact that when you go through insurance, it's going to be a lot higher. And you think you're going to meet your deductible, but the costs are actually much higher and you end up paying more money.
Yep.
But that's hard to get over that thought process because we've all bought into it.
Yep. So there are circumstances where Medicare Advantage may be to your advantage, okay? If you're being charged outlandish premiums because of your income, and they base your Medicare premiums based on income. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
prior year, the couple prior years.
2 years prior.
Sure, yeah.
So if you're very healthy and you're in a high income bracket, you have to pay the same premium whether you're getting straight Medicare with a supplement or whether you're getting Advantage. But some of the Advantage plans will give you back a lot of stuff. You can get free membership at a gym. You can get, free over-the-counter stuff up to a certain limit. So there may be a circumstance where it's to your advantage. But in general, if you want to make your doctor happy, Medicare with a supplement will make them happy. And if they're happy, you'll be happy. That's a little bit behind the stethoscope. All right, so now another texter says, stevia and allulose are the best. You have to be careful about these sugar alcohols like xylitol and this and that. They can be troubling too because they can confuse your hormonal metabolism as well as your microbiome. We need to do a microbiome segment sometime. How's your microbiome?
Yes, how's that going,
Hannah? Have you had it checked lately?
No, I think it's going okay.
Yeah,
but I think very, very. It's like everything else. Very small amounts of artificial sweeteners are okay. Really small amounts.
We have a very strong audience here. Eric says, "I have a soda. If I have a soda, it's Pepsi with real sugar.
Okay.
Trying to stay away from high fructose corn syrup."
Okay,
let's
good.
give it up for Eric.
Great.
That's right. Try to avoid high fructose corn syrup.
That's fake sugar, really.
It's sugar on steroids.
Right.
And it tricks your body into shuttling those calories right into fat. You don't want that. Not good. Inflammatory and has other problems. So there we go. Enough for Doctors In for this time. We'll be doing that again from time to time here on the show. When we come back, let's talk about...
excuse me, sir.
Oh, geez, it's What's Hot with Hannah. Are we already in the second hour? My gosh,
if you've heard me say that phrase before.
You watch TikTok? Oh, news to me.
I do watch TikTok, unfortunately. I spend way too much time on there. And I know I spend too much time on there because I see things like this. Have you heard of the brand Native? They're kind of well known for doing, all natural deodorants and body wash, stuff like that.
No, I haven't. Native?
I've heard a different name for body wash and natural stuff, but go ahead.
Yeah, so Native, it's a newer brand, maybe in the last year or two.
Okay.
They have teamed up for a collaboration with none other than the Girl Scouts, and they have come out with a line of products that are Girl Scout cookie scented.
No.
So if you've ever wanted your pits to smell like peanut butter patties, they have a deodorant and a body wash.
Yeah, I'll run right out and get some of that after the show.
They've also got Samoa inspired. Oh, they've got a whole bunch of products in that one. They've got shampoo, deodorant, body wash. Yeah, I don't know why you would want.
Why would you do that? Okay, you know what? I can't think about with Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout cookie candles.
Ooh, that would be good.
Smell of Samoa or peanut butter, that's okay, but I don't want to smell like that as a person.
Now, I think the Thin Mint one would maybe be the only one that I could go, that might be
that's okay.
Might be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, peanut butter, who wants to raise their arms and just get a whiff of peanut butter? Or
what's the one with the vanilla and the lemon and all that in it?
That's good.
That might be.
Yeah?
A little closer.
They do have a lemon one. It's based off of their lemonades, I think.
Trefoils, isn't that it? Trefoils?
They do have that scent as well. Yep, they have it in deodorant and body wash, John.
I don't know. I'm not going to go out and buy that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be investing in Native very soon.
Some collaborations just don't need to happen.
No, you're absolutely
in Jefferson City and Cole County and all surrounding areas in our listening area because, man, you guys and gals are underappreciated. Well, there's one group, at least in Boone County, that shows appreciation regularly. That's the First Responder Support Group. Rick Rowden joins us now. How you doing, Rick?
Doing good, Randy. How about yourself?
I am good. You guys have something coming up. If people want to show their appreciation for and support first responders in Boone County anyway, you have an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. We've got our second annual First Responder Support You Have My Heart Gala coming up on Thursday, February the 15th. And we've got Brian Treese and his wife, Mary Phillips, our hosts. And it is going to be another spectacular evening. We've added some new things to it. We've got nationally known comedian and cop Vinny Montez is going to be our MC for the night, and they're going to tell some jokes. And he also has a connection with the mental illness piece of first responders, and so it's going to be a great connection, I think, that he's going to have with the audience there. And we're very excited. We've got great auction items lined up, and it is going to be a really, really great event to honor our first responders. The mission of First Responder Support is to provide mental wellness for them by scholarships, our Resilience Scholarship. We also create goodwill in the community. We just had our Big Shop with a Hero event. And then third is providing support for first responders, in a time of need, family needs, and things like that. It's kind of interesting today is the Molly Bowden blood drive, and she paid the ultimate sacrifice several years ago, and I think it's really, a time for us to reflect on what the value of a first responder is in our community. And we cover dispatch, EMT, fire, and police, and they all have a role to play in our public safety, and we definitely need to honor them and help them and support them in any way that we can. And so people can get tickets online at firstrespondersupport.net. They can go there and kind of follow the prompts. And one final thing I'll say is that we've got a kind of a unique thing where you can bid to sit with a celebrity. And some of the celebrities we have are Brady Cook, Sean East, Dr. Stephen Drake, who is at the University of Missouri. And then also you can also sit with Brian Treese and his wife, Mary Phillips. So you can do that online and add more money to support our first responders.
Very cool.
Rick, we appreciate Mr. Rowden, you joining us live to talk about this event. Of course, I've covered, and Randy's been with me when we've covered your events at the Courtyard by Marriott, kind of introducing this new first responder support, which is about a year old. I'm going to cut out some of the details, but I just want to prove a point about what our first responders go through, Rick, and I'm preaching to the choir with you and for some of our audience. I had a story just a moment ago on the Eagle. A guy was stabbed at Douglas Park, beaten for 25 minutes and stabbed for 25 minutes. The first responders are basically who saved the man's life. It wasn't for them showing up, the firefighters and the medics. He would have been killed. I'm looking at the court documents. He was covered in blood, stabbed in the head, beaten for 25 minutes. It's just a horrific attack by a guy who has a long criminal record, and that's another story. Long criminal record, a warrant out for his arrest, by the way. Rick, describe for us, that's just one incident. I could give 100 incidents right now. Describe for us what these men and women go through on a daily basis. This is not unusual, what we just saw the other night. That's not unusual.
Absolutely. It is hard to describe, honestly. When the majority of us are running for the exits, first responders are running it for the entrance. And, man, you see that play out on a daily basis. I think back a couple years ago, and Brian, you remember when those two young kids were killed in that fire.
Yes.
And as I recall, the story, the grandmother was trying to get the kids to jump out the window and couldn't convince them to do so, and they perished in the fire. And I understand from the stories I've heard, the impact that had on the fire department, the people in the fire department, will live with them forever. That happened in our community. And so, they put on the vest, they put on, their equipment, they leave their family. The family doesn't know if they're going to return. And, whatever their shift is, usually pretty lengthy, hopefully will return, but no telling what will happen during that 10 or 12 hours when they're going to be impacted in ways that will stick with them the rest of their life.
Yes.
Well,
that's just a daily thing.
As the spouse of a volunteer firefighter, being the spouse at home, knowing that they're, in a structure fire or on the side of the road for a horrific accident, it really stinks not being able to know how they're doing in that moment.
Yep, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
We're talking with Rick Rowden with the First Responder Support at firstrespondersupport.net, right?
Rick, how important was the bill that lawmakers passed in the last session to, sort of address PTSD in our first responders?
Well, I think that's something that has been overlooked. And if you look at the people who join the ranks of first responders, many of them are people who have been involved in the military and probably have some of that already. Matter of fact, I just got an email from our Boone County Fire Department about an individual that's going to be coming to the event that just came back from a year's deployment, jumped right back in to being a fireman. And so that this is something that is kind of already there, and then as some of these events unfold, you can see where that can be further set into their mind. That's one reason why we started the Resilience Scholarship that offers $2,500 annually to any of the first responders that want to find mental wellness support, counseling, therapy, because we feel it is kind of the number one priority of what first responder support does, is to make sure that we're addressing that mental wellness. So I think any recognition that can come to that is very valuable.
Rick, could I ask, what kind of training do especially volunteer first responders get, including the emotional welfare of them? Just a lot of people don't know these things.
And I'm not as probably well versed on that as I might be in the future. I'm kind of I'm the executive director, and I'm kind of leading the charge on fundraising.
Okay.
But since I started, we started this nonprofit in November 2022. It is something that has been placed on my heart, not just for me a job, but that I understand these stories. We interviewed a cop here a few months ago. His name is Gary, and again, Brian will probably remember the incident where the gentleman barricaded himself in a house over at Rock Quarry.
Yep.
And Gary was the guy that stood up in the SWAT truck and took him out.
That's right.
And from there, Gary went into a kind of a tailspin with regard to drug addiction and drinking, and eventually left the department. And so, you just can't imagine what they go through. And of course, they do have, a lot of training, and there's a lot of support that comes from these organizations. But, in my opinion, we just can't do enough to help heal the wounds that they experience, on a very frequent basis.
Final question for you, Rick. Boone County, of course, encompasses the city of Columbia. It's no secret that the police officers in the city of Columbia are becoming as rare as the dodo bird because they feel disrespected both materially and rhetorically. Does your organization help fill in some of the gaps that maybe they feel are missing in terms of support for that particular contingent?
Yeah, and that's really in our mission statement, Randy, where we want to educate the public because I don't think, sometimes, we need to swing the pendulum back the other way here in Columbia to show the respect that they are due, and that's really one of our missions and part of, like Shop with a Hero, we had 50, around 40 first responders who came and shopped with 12 families who had been impacted by violence right here in our own community. So that we're in those types of things, we're trying to create that goodwill and put a face to a name or, generalities that are out there that we need to, understand who these people are and what they do, and maybe not jump to the first conclusion that sometimes is out there about how first responders handle situations, especially our police officers.
Yeah. No matter how they feel towards their administration, whether they're Boone County sheriff officials or firefighters or Columbia fire or police officers, the services apply to all of the first responders in terms of helping restore their mental wellness and other material needs. But it's good that there's some activism and some support coming from your group, aside from those very human concerns that you administer as well. So we again want to point people towards that firstrespondersupport.net website and hope that folks will show up for that second gala. And you have to, I understand, Hauswirth's going to have to put on his little red dress. Is that right for that one?
It is a red dress, black tie.
Brian, make sure I'll pay the cleaning bill. Okay, I'll pay the cleaning bill.
No dress. Nice tie.
No dress, babe.
All right, we're having too much fun with Brian here today. Okay, right. Rick Rowden, thank you very much for all you do, and give our salute to everyone there at First Responder Support. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Sure appreciate it.
Rick, thank you. Randy, he mentioned the fire. I'll try not to choke up on this. I covered that. That fire was over at an apartment complex in West Columbia. It was in December of 22. It was right before Christmas.
Yeah.
2 children died. He's absolutely right. Small children, and the grandmother was trying to get them to jump out.
Yeah.
The firefighters who were at that scene and Chief Farr were out there all night. Terribly cold conditions. Horrible story. But they had made a commitment to the Eagle and to Zimmer that they would participate in our food drive that was going on. It just so happened to be that afternoon. I didn't think they were going to be there. I totally understood it, but all of them showed up.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do that, but they were just they didn't say anything. I could see it in their face. Their faces told me everything, that they were impacted, and I'm sure they're impacted to this day. So our just what they see on a daily basis is horrible. That was a fire. That was not a crime. Well, it was not a crime scene. It was a fire scene. Doesn't matter. They see wrecks. Awful.
Yep. So while everyone's support, when you see an officer, a firefighter, and to give them a tip of the hat, that's great. But boy, some material support would be good as well. John Marsh, I hesitate. I shudder to think what might be coming out of your wild and wacky, out-of-the-box segment coming up. What you got in store?
Well, it's just into us, Momo. The pumpkin-sized head, 7 foot tall, covered in dark hair, and he stinks. The most well-known alleged sighting occurred July 11th, 1972, when 2 young boys were playing in the backyard on the outskirts of Louisiana, Missouri. Their older sister, Doris, was in the kitchen when she heard the little guys screaming. She looked out the window, saw a massive, dark-haired, man-like creature holding what appeared to be a dead dog. She described it as having a pumpkin-shaped head and large, glowing orange eyes. Many alleged sightings have been seen in that area. Councilman Richard Murray, who was reported to be driving along a creek bed when he saw the creature in his vehicle's headlights. They put together a posse and never found him. We have it on good authority. He's been spotted recently in western Cole County, and we can prove it on the Wake Up Mid-Missouri Facebook page. So now you'll know the rest of that story.
You know, you tickled my memory with this. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Six Flags outside of St. Louis have a Momo the Monster ride?
They did.
Oh, yeah.
Right on the money. Had one of the big roller coasters.
Yeah,
was
it's a
Momo.
roller coaster. Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's not there anymore. Yeah, you're right.
So this is Missouri's answer to Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yeah. Well, he takes it, one better. Orange eyes, pumpkin-sized head. I guess eats dead dogs.
It's amazing what the human mind can conjure. I mean, just look at Joe Biden. And, it's just amazing the delusions that people can come up with. Mm-hmm. You think about the whole UFO thing. Are they real? Are they not? Is it people that just are having hallucinations, maybe a little too much,
There's a lot of satellites up there. I bet there's, it's man-made stuff. That's what I'm thinking. It's all man-made
and you
stuff.
think
a lot of misdirection by the Department of Defense is what it is.
That's what I think.
But you think about these kinds of sightings. I mean, you look at
these are real.
Oh, okay, John. Okay,
these are real.
Right.
Okay,
we'll take that. We'll take that right at face value. There. I don't know how come no one has ever been able to trap the monster. No one's ever been able to, have evidence of where the monster
get his
lives.
Footprint in a plaster.
Yeah. Didn't have the proper doe tag, maybe.
Maybe that's what it is. Folklore, the cryptid. It's called. The cryptids are animals that are cryptozoologists believe may exist somewhere in the wild, but whose present existence is disputed or unsubstantiated by science. No one trusts the science anymore. his red on.
Yes, sir.
And I have, look at this. Hannah,
yes.
you have his red on. Look at this.
Yes.
Doesn't get redder
Yes,
than
sir.
this. And I have, look at this. Hannah,
Yes.
you have his red on. Look at this.
Yes.
Doesn't get redder
Yes,
than
sir.
this. And I have, look at this. Hannah,
Yes.
you have his red on. Look at. So there you go.
Whoa, I hate
Wow.
that.
Everyone got their red
Talk about
on.
going crazy. Yes.
So
I got my red on. I got my red on.
I feel like
got my red
going
on.
out and chopping down a tree and splitting logs. I'm ready to go.
You look like Paul Bunyan. Yeah.
Well, no, I am not Paul Bunyan.
Yes.
But we have some, I think, ideological Paul Bunyans that are making a stance over in Davos. Now, there's this is Feel Good Friday, and you're going, Randy, what is feeling good about Davos?
Yes.
You got John Kerry, Al Gore, New World Order.
I never really listened to that till last night.
It's awful.
It's terrible. I had no clue.
Brian Hauswirth wearing his red. We're going to talk about this stabbing at Douglas Park in a bit, but I'm feeling good because populism is on the rise. The people are speaking. As long as it's led and leads to the right change in our cultures, in our governance across the Western globe, and I hope ultimately the rest of the globe, I'm really excited about that. I feel good about that. And here's why I feel good. I always thought Davos, just a quagmire, just a soup, a slurry of nothing but progressive, woke elitists who just want to tell the rest of us what to do. But now there's pushback. There's pushback. Kevin Roberts, who is the head of the Heritage Foundation, he's also a professor at University of Texas, Austin. He took off the gloves. He's in the belly of the beast. And I don't know whether you heard this or not. He took off the glove. What? Why am I hearing that? Hannah, I'm trying to play some audio, and I pushed my audio. Why am I hearing that? What is that? Hannah, why am I hearing that? Okay, I don't know why that's going. But Kevin Roberts basically is giving it back to people, and we're going to figure this out. I've got a little technical issue here. So in the meantime, but I want you to hear this because Kevin Roberts, he's sitting there talking to the elitists. He's talking to the people that want to rule your life from a yearly meeting led by Klaus Schwab. We're going to change the world. Show me the papers. Mm-hmm. That Klaus Schwab, frightening, that guy's dialect. It's frightening. He's a German engineer, philosopher, whatever. But, I mean, this guy is dangerous.
Yeah, he sounds like a bad war movie.
Yeah, really bad. Yeah, like a remake of Hogan's Heroes in all the wrong ways. So I don't know why. I'm trying to do the host audio here, and it doesn't. Something's wrong. We'll talk to producer Hannah. She'll figure that out. In the meantime, let's talk about something that's not so good, and that is this terrible. I mean, we heard a little bit about it yesterday, Brian, but you've unpacked this stabbing in Douglas Park. We need to talk about that.
Well, it's one of those things that, and I want to emphasize something.
An assault.
Exactly, and an assault and a stabbing at Douglas Park. A lot of times, and this is not a criticism of the police, I want to make that very clear. The CPD, the public information team, and their officers, whoever I talk to, generally it's going to be their public information. They're limited in what they can say. They're not going to jeopardize any investigation, but they give me what they can. So we knew there was an assault. It's just they couldn't really go beyond it. The charges are in the criminal case, and the court documents are really where and that's a tip for young reporters. Always get the court documents because you're going to find a lot more in there. And we did. And what happened on Wednesday night, just feet from a children's playground at Douglas Park, was a stabbing incident. And we've got a guy who has a lengthy criminal record, Randy. He's convictions, according to court documents that I've showed you, that come directly from the police that have filed, actually from the prosecutor's office. He's been convicted of second-degree robbery. He's been convicted of armed criminal action. There was methamphetamines, a couple of other things. He had an active warrant at the time of his arrest, and he is charged with first-degree assault and armed criminal action. The court documents are very graphic. I'm going to have it up. I'll probably put it up right after the 9 o'clock news because I'm going to get his mugshot on there, too. I'll get it on the KWS website as well. The court documents are very graphic, so I'll spare some of the horrific details, but the victim was allegedly stabbed in his head and neck and was beaten for about 25 minutes. 25 minutes, and that's straight out of the court document until the firefighters and medics arrived.
How's he still alive?
We don't know his condition, and he was stabbed in his head. He was covered in blood. There was a lot of police presence, and Mitch Kaminsky from our news partner was over there doing live shots, but then as soon he had to go, he got called on a breaking news story, that explosion, so he had to leave the park, so he didn't get all the details either. But this suspect is 46 years old. Randy, when you see his picture on our website, I thought he was 65 years old. I mean, he looks, I don't know. And it doesn't appear that he is from the area because I can't find much of a record on him at all. I found a little bit in Boone County, but maybe from another area. I don't know where he's from. His name is Gary Patillo. I know Mitch had said on air from Channel 17, there was speculation it was a homeless guy that did this. I don't know. There's no indication of that in the report.
So let's build a hotel for them.
Well, and again, I want to make that's what he said. I think he was getting that from witnesses and stuff, but that's not in the court document or it's redacted. But the guy is charged, and he apparently knew the victim based on the court document because they sat at the picnic table, they were talking, and then this assault just happens, and it's horrible. I mean, it is just absolutely
and to circle back, that just I think emphasizes what we talked about last segment about the first responders and just what a bunch of miraculous angels they can be when they appear and save the day. I mean, that's
they saved his life. I mean, it's flat. I mean, you can read the court document.
So that's
link
cool.
to it. His life was saved, but this guy is charged and facing very serious charges. It'll likely be arraigned today on the 1:30 docket, either 1 or 1:30. That's not been set yet.
Okay,
law enforcement is sure familiar with Douglas Park in that neighborhood, aren't they, Brian? With the murder from last year and.
Yeah, we've had multiple incidents in there, and I covered a trial. Actually, no, it wasn't. A guy pleaded guilty. I believe his name was Ricky Murray. It was in September. And flat out, I was there, and the guy that got killed, his mother was in the courtroom. She was there with all her family, and they very religious family. They're very religious, and her son was killed by this Murray guy. This is Douglas Park back in I want to say 2000. He was killed over $3 at a dice game. $3.
I remember that.
And remember I joined you.
Right. I couldn't believe it.
And the mother, I'm paraphrasing here. If the mother's listening, I'll be very close on this because I was in the courtroom. But basically what the mother said, she looked directly at him in the courtroom and said, God will forgive you, and so will I, but right now I don't forgive you. I mean, it's not exactly what she said, but essentially it was that she was in other words, she was saying, I will forgive you, but not right now, but God will forgive you. But she wasn't crying, but she was so upset that her son was killed over $3 at a dice game. And the church members, they were from a local church, an African-American church, the victim's family sitting right behind me, older people from the church. But I remember they were in court behind me. Judge Jacobs was at the dais in the courtroom. And when she said, God will forgive you, I will too, but not right now. Right behind, I remember them saying, amen, a very loud amen. And normally you're not allowed to say it. The judge allowed that. They were very, so in other words, they were forgiving him. And the suspect from that case, he had no emotion. None. Wow, no emotion at all. I was there watching him.
Well, I think these people are soulless.
Yeah, don't you feel sorry for the perpetrator because they have no soul?
The perpetrator, by the way, a lengthy criminal record on him.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just, and I don't know. We're not going to speculate. Helene, I understand what you're saying. It's just what they all have in common are many things, and a lot of times they have prior criminal records and everything. But so many of them are senseless. They're just senseless. And we don't know about what happened, what to cause it. The court document in the last one at Douglas Park says it was an unprovoked attack.
Yeah.
Ricky Murray's argument was, as I recall, was the guy scammed him out of $3 or whatever. But that's
so
even if he did $3 and killed. And by the way, he was a convicted felon, should not have legally had a gun, and he had a gun. How many times have we reported that? It's almost every case.
Waffle House.
Yeah.
I mean, John and Brian, you guys could just have a macro on your computers that just says something that references priors, right? Because I mean, it's just a broken record. It just happens all the time.
It is, and it's a situation where it doesn't matter what county it is, but just a lot of them are senseless. The probation parole, we're a conditional release state, so people want to rip the parole board, but the reality is, up to a certain extent, under the state law, they have to release these people, and in some cases, they're releasing them before, obviously, they should be. So that's our state representative, Sheree Tolson-Reich, has said she wants to take a look at that, but this is just, this thing at Douglas Park the other night, horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely horrible.
All right, thanks for that update on that, and I'm sure as that trial progresses and things unpack, you'll let us know about that. Hey, have you ever wondered about the people that are supporting the office, the janitorial staff, other people that support your office environment, what they might overhear, and how that may impact things? A story out of the Wall Street Journal says there are a lot of things that I have heard or seen but can't divulge. An executive assistant for 20 years. So-and-so is cheating on their spouse, that type of scenario. It's an interesting article from executive assistants who pop into board meetings with lunch to janitors who mop within earshot of after-hours banter. Workers who seem like the office equivalent of extras on a movie set are often privy to more than those in starring roles realize. Have you ever wondered about that?
I've always heard janitors in a school, especially because we raising our 3 kids. They have the know-how of everything going on in that school. The janitors see everything. And they also, the kids come to the janitors as a source of information too.
And when we see all of these, and this is nothing new, but these tell-all books that come out, we've seen it in the orbit of Donald Trump. You see it with anyone in high celebrity, people that were formerly, very, very close to these people, the assistant types, the hairdressers, the makeup people. Man, now sometimes it comes out very positively, but other times, holy cow! So it's just a little warning as you go through your workday today, and to be careful about the things you say around the people that you're around, because you never know when it may come back to bite you, bite you in the keister.
I had one of those circumstances in my first job. Learned something very important. This is right out of college.
I remember.
There was a sea of people. We were all complaining about my supervisor. Everyone, like 25 people.
She was complainable.
But she was complainable. 25 of us, all in a big sea of people. Well, guess what? My supervisor then took me back into the room, a closed room, and said, I heard you were talking about me. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all 20 of us were. So guess what? My very important lesson I learned, I never talked about any fellow employee again. I kept my mouth shut. The only person I did, I went home, talked to my husband. That was it.
Yeah. John,
very important lesson.
I know. I think we've all been there and done that when we're sharing sort of common, just talking about someone's foibles or some of their. I mean, I know no one talks about my idiosyncrasies, right? No one does.
No,
John, you and
none.
Hannah never talk about that. Hannah, you don't talk about that with Stephanie.
No, he has no idiosyncrasies.
No.
Right. And the walls have ears.
and you think you're sort of in a safe place because everyone's doing it, but then somehow, one of that group may eventually become, you were talking about. Well, wait a minute, everyone was talking about you. No. That's pretty funny.
It's not funny when you get caught.
Let's catch up on the markets and what's going on in business when we come back on talking about those, your nominations for winners and losers at 8:35, just right after the bottom of the hour news, and catch up with things going on. Helene joins me in the studio today, and there's producer Hannah.
Hello.
Good morning.
John. Dow futures, take a look at your 401k. Dow futures are up about 100 points. The S&P 500, which I think is a more reliable measure of what's going on in the markets, is on the cusp of a new record close. So markets continue to defy what we're hearing when you start to look into some of the details. And, John, I know you'll be disappointed that Ford is cutting production of its F-150 Lightning truck. I know that's really bothering you because I know you were thinking about buying one of those electric trucks, weren't you?
Yeah, you bet.
Right.
Hey,
yeah, that's one of those deals that we heard from not just Ford, too. A lot of them are kind of rethinking their EVs.
Well, remember, Hertz is selling, 20,000 of their EV fleet because they're too hard to maintain. They're not reliable, especially in this cold weather. And Ford is adding jobs at the Bronco and Ranger plants. So there you go. And I know, Hannah, you are going to be... Oh, Hannah is just glowing with this story. The Biden administration is announcing today it'll forgive $4.9 billion in student debt for 73,000 borrowers. I wonder if that's going to apply to you, producer Hannah.
It's not.
Oh, you're already on top of it.
How do you know? Wait a minute. How do you know?
Well, I already saw this the other day, and I forget who it applied to, but it wasn't me.
Oh.
And I'm not very happy right now. They gave us, I guess, the month of December off from student loan payments.
Right.
But I didn't see that until after I'd already made my payment.
Oh.
So I was ahead, right? And it said I only owed 74 cents for the month of January.
Okay.
But they took my whole normal payment amount, and I was not banking on that. So I'm a little mad at them right now.
What interest do they charge you? What interest do they charge you?
I think it's 4.5%, 5%.
Okay, a little below market.
And in other news, Wayfair, the big online shopping giant, Wayfair is cutting 1,600 jobs. We heard about Hasbro cutting 1,200 recently. Macy's is cutting 2,300 jobs, about 3.5% of its workforce, and closing 5 stores.
This happen every time Christmas is over? I mean,
I don't think these are not temporary jobs. No, these are not seasonal jobs. on all 8 cylinders and who may be sputtering a little bit. Let's see what co-host of the day, Helene, has to say.
Okay, I went to North Carolina last week to see my daughter and granddaughter, 2 granddaughters, and we flew into Southwest, and we moved from a year ago, and I still have my old address, our luggage tag. So I took the luggage tag off, and I'm in the airport, and I'm checking in, and then I spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how to put it back on. How do I attach it? It was really a simple.
Now, this wasn't the one you get at the counter.
No, this is the big luggage
there's
tag.
There's a little mechanism.
A little mechanism that I just couldn't figure out. So this sweet lady, was sweeping the floor, but she had a Southwest tag on, and I finally said to her, and she was helping other people. I said, I sound like the stupidest person ever. Could you help me with this? And she said, sure, I can help you. People do that all the time. They don't know what to do with that. And she helped me, and she didn't make me feel stupid. So she's my winner of the week.
All right. You have a loser for the week?
No.
Oh,
life's perfect.
There's Miss Happy Pants, Helene, over there.
That's not what she told me in the commercial break.
John, who's your winner and loser nominees for the week?
Okay, I've got a loser, a winner, hopefully a winner, and a real winner. Loser would be the Federal Highway Administration for banning our funny electronic highway signs and creating their humor-free zones. Lincoln University Blue Tiger football program names a winner, hopefully. Moses Harper, the new head football coach, coming to Lincoln from Nebraska Kearney after they went 0-22 with the former coach. And the real winner of the week, and I think the Boone County Fire Protection District guys would concur, the family dog whose persistent barking woke up those folks during the fire that you guys out in your neck of the woods out of South Callan Road.
Right. You're right.
You're right. The street.
I just walked by there the other day.
An eighth of a mile down the street.
Yeah, the dog saved their lives.
Wow,
there's no doubt.
You are totally right on that one.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's a good one. Brian Hauswirth.
I'll defer to Hannah first.
Oh, okay.
So I actually have been working on a little sound project. It's about 35 seconds long.
Okay.
And it demonstrates my winner and loser. This is from the Senate floor yesterday in Jefferson City. So here we go. It's a montage.
Why wait till the last day? We have one of the longest sessions of any legislature anywhere in the country. Why not do it today?
Well, 3/4 of our time is spent listening to you.
A bill other than IP reform. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to vote against that amendment.
I bet you are.
Yes.
No, they will vote against it because they are against you coming in here and trampling every other senator's ability to
We're not
move
trampling.
something
See,
forward.
once again, and there it is again. The daily reminder of my campaign. Thank you, Senator.
We don't need a daily reminder because we have you to remind us every day.
You keep talking about me. I just want to pass IP reform.
You just want to be governor.
So that was Senator Cindy O'Loughlin and Bill Eigel. Whoa, going at it.
Whoa.
So Senator O'Loughlin is my winner of the week.
Yes.
And Senator Eigel, who is also, as you heard, running for governor, is my loser of the week. He got pummeled by Cindy O'Loughlin. And there were 12 more golden audio clips I could have put in this montage, but those were just a couple of my favorite. Scott Fawn was doing kind of a play-by-play on his Twitter account yesterday as this was happening in real time. And I'm really excited for our hit with him at 7:10 on Monday morning
that'll be
to
fun.
ask him about it because Senator Rowden and Senator Koenig also kind of got into it later in the session. So it was a battle for the ages, I think, yesterday in the 10-hour session.
And it's worth mentioning for people listening, Hannah did a great job putting that together. Very important to mention that Senator O'Loughlin and Eigel are both Republicans. This was not a Democrat versus Republican. They're both conservative Republicans, and you'd never know that in the clip she just played because they see things differently.
Well, and of course, Senator Eigel is with the Missouri Freedom Caucus, and they said yesterday on the floor that they were going to basically filibuster until IP reform got passed.
Filibuster all gubernatorial appointments.
Yes, and a lot of other senators didn't take too kindly to that.
Especially Caleb Rowden.
Which we've never seen. And one of them was Robert Nodell. In fact, I pointed out the other day, Robert Nodell and Paula Nicholson were coming up. They still have not been confirmed yet. So.
And it's uncharacteristic of Cindy to boil over like that. She was in his face. I mean, she generally is more restrained, but she's about had it. Cindy's had it.
But and it was, I'm not going to lie, I was very entertained.
But Senator Eagles had it with her, too. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, his supporters in St. Charles would argue that she needs to bring up IP reform. If you play that clip, and I'm glad Hannah did that, you see the problem Governor Parsons is going to have when he goes into that chamber. He can propose everything he wants, but Republicans have super majorities. You'd never know it with what you just heard there.
Yeah,
it really wasn't.
All right, Brian, winners and losers.
3 winners today. We are going to have today Veterans United. They made a donation working on a story for early next week, a big donation to the American Legion Post here in Columbia, and they've donated money to their roof to fix their 60-year-old roof. This donation will go to help them become handicap accessible in their bathrooms. Cool. So we got some audio working on that story, I believe, for Tuesday at this point. Also nominating a guy named Father Chris Cordes. He is a pastor at Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church. Many of our listeners will know him. He's being transferred to Holt Summit, and he's a saint. He's a wonderful man, and I've known him for years. He was my priest in Jefferson City. We are going to miss him a lot. And it'll be hard to see him leave at Holt Summit. Lucky to get Father Chris Cordes. What a great job. And last but not least, Miss Vicky. Miss Vicky is and has been you ask any listener who goes to the Walmart on Grindstone, they will know who Miss Vicky is. She had health issues. She just passed away. And they've got a beautiful table set up for her as you go in there with her vest on it, and it says Miss Vicky. She had to sit down every time, and I was always patient. She did a great job. Incredible worker.
I didn't get to know her.
I wish you could. Randy,
what was her role there?
She was a cashier and did a wonderful job, and she just I'll spare the details. It was health issues, but she just a wonderful lady and just passed away, and they've got a beautiful, if you walk into the Walmart on Grindstone, you will see that. But Miss Vicky, I think smiling down.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful, and I know she'd be thrilled. Probably embarrassed that I'm bringing her up, but thrilled I'm mentioning her as well. But that is a wonderful lady. Yeah, absolutely.
A life of service. That's
yes, sir.
Great. I'm going to start with the losers.
All right.
Jamal Bowman, who has proposed a $14 trillion package for reparations for 42 million African Americans in America, roughly 330,000. He says, no problem, it can be paid out over time. So he's definitely a loser in my book. He may be a winner in some listeners' books. I don't know. The other loser would be the judge in the Trump defamation trial over there, the back and forth between he and that sort of harassment suit with Eugene Carroll. He wouldn't let Mr. Trump, they wouldn't do a pause in the trial so Donald Trump could go to his mother-in-law's funeral. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah. And Trump made a big deal out of it. Now, in the comment section is, how come you didn't visit her in the hospital? Well, he's been pretty busy campaigning and being everywhere else. And Melania took some time off, of course, to spend time with her mom in the hospital. But the woman passes. And, I mean, at least maybe that's Trump's side of the story because they begged. Helena Habba wanted him to be off. And the judge said, nope, not going to do it.
Wow.
I think that. And I don't know whether that is normal esprit de corps in the court system or not. I would think that a judge would let someone go to a funeral of a relative.
It's hard to say. In this case, as a former president, so we're probably talking about uncharted territory. And I've covered tons of trials. So has John. I don't remember it ever coming up in a trial, but it would be a case by case basis. But it's got to be very unusual, if not unprecedented.
It's usually more of a thing we see with offenders who have been convicted, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Not able to get out of the system to go to a family member's funeral or something.
And DOC used to give furloughs. Right. They would allow them. They don't allow that anymore.
This is a civil trial.
Well, this is a civil trial, and it's a former president. Yeah. I'm a little surprised by that. But
maybe there's more to the story.
And there could be
more to the story.
There could be. We don't know. But that could have waited a day. Yeah. But again, there may be something else out there we just don't know.
Here is Kevin Roberts at Davos. I'm just so thrilled. I'm just so thrilled when conservatives, people that respect and cherish freedom, just point their finger, and they're right in the chest of the elites in Davos. Here he is.
The kind of person, and I'll be candid here because I think I've been invited here to be candid. The kind of person who will come into the next conservative administration is going to be governed by one principle, and that is destroying the grasp that political elites and unelected technocrats have over the average person. And if I may, I will be candid and say that the agenda that every single member of the administration needs to have is to compile a list of everything that's ever been proposed at the World Economic Forum and object all of them wholesale. Anyone not prepared to do that and take away this power of the unelected bureaucrats and give it back to the American people is unprepared to be part of the next conservative administration.
Now, that's powerful, and that is a winner. That is a winner.
That got a lot of play and stuff. You do have to give Randy. I do have to give that the audience obviously didn't want to hear that, I'm sure. I do give them credit for inviting him because you just don't normally hear something like that.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
There's another winner. His name is Representative Tim Tiffany from Wisconsin. In a little back and forth in testimony with the senior director of government relations for the American Immigration Lawyers Association. This is testimony in Congress the other day. The winner, Representative Tiffany. The loser, Gregory Chen.
Should everyone get an attorney? That's what I heard in your testimony. Anyone that comes to our border, they should get an attorney. Is that right?
So legal representation has been shown to greatly improve both the fairness of the system and the efficiency. If you have a lawyer...
So the American taxpayers should pay for the lawyers also. Not only should they pay for the hospitals, not only should they pay for the schools, not only should they pay the SNAP benefits, they should also pay for the lawyers to allow them as people from outside the United States to be able to come into America.
So what would what's wrong with that picture? The immigration lawyers organization representative saying, "Yeah, those immigrants need more of our representation, and you need to pay for it." I mean, this is preposterous. What have we come to in this country? That guy should have been laughed out of that committee hearing. I mean, that is ridiculous. So good for you, Representative Tiffany. You're another winner because you're calling out truth to power. That
makes me think of when the Bosnians made their big pilgrimage into St. Louis and all, and the immigration lawyers that popped up on every corner there.
Yeah, and there's a huge, even now, Bosnian presence around Bevo Mill.
50-some thousand, I think.
Bevo Mill especially. Then they've started businesses, things like that
and
as well.
I've told the story before about Benjamin Bajic.
Randy had a lot of patience.
Way back in the day. Benjamin Bajic and his wife came to America legally during that conflict in the late 90s.
They were good people.
With a suitcase and $50. I mean, the traditional immigrant assimilation story. They cleaned houses. One of their relatives came and joined the family and lived with them, and they started a home cleaning business while she's having a baby. They did what it took to make ends meet. And then a few years later, I see Benjamin Bajic coming in. He's got a blues jacket on, a leather blues jacket on. I'm like, what's going on? Well, I'm doing home repair. I've started my own company.
I'll be darned.
That's Benjamin Bajic and his family. Now a successful, self-supporting American dream story. And that's the way immigration should happen. None of us have a problem with that kind of immigration.
And you talk about that hits the Bosnians square and center. And the vast majority of them were all successful and came in legally and were sponsored by friends and family. And
That's right. Absolutely. And it's become a family business, and they're very, very successful. And I mean, that warms your heart on this Feel Good Friday. When we come back, more leftovers, because there is a lot left over. I know Hannah's got something up her sleeve. So does Helene. So does John. Oh, you got to split.
I got to go.
Thanks for co-hosting.
We have a patient.
left over. Sometimes, as long as it's been on the floor less than 5 seconds, we'll even maybe assimilate that. Are you a...
Speak for yourself on that one.
You're not a 5-second rule guy?
Depends on where I'm at.
All right. Well, maybe we can ask Brian Hansen and Gary Nolan when they come up on this Frost My Buns Friday, what frost their buns. I know eating leftovers frost Brian's buns. I know that. I don't know about Gary, though. Maybe we'll have to talk. His family was in the restaurant business, right? So they might know.
True.
Yeah. All right, so my leftover is, Hannah, now you're a newlywed. Did you buy any new furniture, like a new couch by any chance?
No, we didn't buy one, but we were given one.
Well, your new $3,000 couch might be garbage in 3 years. The Wall Street Journal says that's because construction standards are not what they used to be. I mean, we all know. Take a look at the drawers in cabinets, unless they're very expensive cabinets, or furniture. You know, maybe your armoire, your dresser, maybe if you've got a buffet in the dining room.
You're giving us a lot of credit for newlyweds.
Well, when you're going to buy used furniture. It's a great way to go. Estate sales, garage sales, great way to go. Our bedroom set is from for all I know, the 80s. It's the same one we had when we got married.
Most of our furniture was either, gifted to us from a garage sale.
Yeah.
Or, we got it for Christmas or something like that. So
apparently the buttons are popping off of sofa cushions. They're just not constructed the way they used to. A lot of it was supply chain issues born of COVID, problems, but others are just people skimping because, profit margins are tight. John, when you buy something, I know when it comes to looking at a drawer, you look for dovetail drawers, right? That tongue and groove kind of an appearance where the face of the drawer meets the side.
Well, that's quality cabinetry, back in the day when they did all that dovetail and all that sort of thing and tongue and groove.
Yeah. So furniture manufacturers are saying the proliferation of makers, rising price of materials, and our shopaholic tendencies all contribute to this. So don't count on that expensive couch, lasting as long as your mom and dad's and your grandma and grandpa's did.
I wonder if this day and age, from our buddy Steve at Steve's Pest Control, I know he likes to put out the cautions about used furniture and the bed bug problem.
Ooh,
yeah.
I wonder if that's driving people to the new stuff.
You wonder. Yeah, I wonder. And you got places like Wayfair and Knockdown and stuff like that. What do you have, Hannah?
Something we didn't get to this week. There is a new Miss America. John, you might know her. Miss Colorado, Madison Marsh was the winner. What's unique about Madison is she is currently in the Air Force, and she is making history as the first active duty Miss America.
Cool.
She's a second lieutenant in the Air Force.
That's right. You go.
Pretty cool.
John, you got anything?